My name is Ava Mitchell. I'm 29. And the night my brother crashed my car and called the cops on me, I was halfway through a long shift at the hospital. I'd just finished charting when my phone buzzed with his name, and a tired part of me knew. If I picked up, I was about to light my whole life on fire again. For years, I've paid his rent, cleared his cards, even sold the last thing my grandma left me to cover his debts. Every time I swore it was the last. Every time my parents begged, he just needs one more chance, until I stopped being his sister and became his emergency fund with a pulse. That afternoon, he'd asked to borrow my car for a job interview, swearing this was the break that would fix everything. I hesitated so long he started guilt-tripping me, saying I didn't believe in family. I should have hung up. Instead, I met him in the parking lot, tossed him the keys, and watched my only car pull away, taking my savings and my peace of mind. I didn't know that a few hours later, blue and red lights would be washing over my face. My brother would be standing behind an officer pointing at me, and my own parents would be nodding along to a story that made me the villain. I didn't know that. When it was over, I'd walk into a police station with a gift that would change everything for them. Before I tell you what he told the cops, and what I handed over that made their jaws drop, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. I want to see how far this family drama travels. After I watched my car disappear out of the hospital lot, I tried to convince myself I'd done the right thing. I went back inside, scrubbed in, and threw myself into passing meds and changing dressings, but my brain kept drifting to the same ugly thought. The last favor, before this, had been paying 3 months of his back rent so he wouldn't get evicted. Before that, I'd zelled him money to fix a tire, only to see him post bottle service on his stories that same night. This wasn't a pattern anymore. It was a lifestyle, and I was the one funding it. Halfway through the evening, I checked my phone during a quick break. No text from him. No selfie in some borrowed suit saying, "Wish me luck." Just silence. I told myself it was fine, that he was probably in the interview, trying to be responsible for once, but my stomach felt like it had a fist around it. One stupid thought kept looping in my head. If something goes wrong, my name is on that title, my insurance, my credit. If you were me, how many last chances would you give before you finally let someone fall? An hour later, as I was hanging a bag of fluids, my phone lit up with an unknown number. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something about it made me grab for it like it was a code blue. "Hello? Is this Ava Mitchell?" The voice was flat. Official. "Yes?" "Ma'am, this is Officer Daniels with the Phoenix Police Department. Are you the registered owner of a gray Honda Civic? Plate—" My heart dropped so hard I had to sit down. He finished the plate and I could barely breathe. "What happened?" My voice sounded small in my own ears. "There's been a collision at the intersection of 32nd Street and Bell Road. Your vehicle is involved. The driver identifies himself as your brother. He's not seriously injured, but we need you on scene." I signed out with the charge nurse in a daze, grabbed my bag, and practically ran to the rideshare pickup. No car, no backup, just me and a buzzing panic that made the city lights smear in my vision. On the way there, every red light the rideshare hit felt like it was grabbing me by the shoulders and forcing me to imagine worse and worse scenarios. My car folded in half, someone on a stretcher, my brother in handcuffs, or drunk, or both. I kept replaying the moment I'd tossed him the keys, wondering if that was the exact second I should have finally said no, the second my life forked into the version where I'm just a tired nurse, and the version where I'm sitting in a courtroom because of him. "You okay back there?" the driver asked, glancing at me in the rear view. "Not really," I muttered. "My brother just wrecked my life's savings." "Family," he said with a sympathetic snort. "They'll take you down quicker than any stranger." When we finally turned the corner toward 32nd and Bell, I saw the flashing lights before anything else. Then the twisted metal. Then the shape of my own car, hood crumpled like paper, airbags blown, front bumper hanging by a thread, and standing on the curb, talking animatedly to a police officer like he was explaining a bad beat in poker, was my brother, Ryan. Ryan looked almost insultingly intact, a tiny cut on his forehead, shirt half tucked, still in the stupid bomber jacket he wore behind the bar. He saw me before I even shut the car door and lifted his hands like, "See? I'm fine." "Ava," he called out, voice too loud for someone who'd almost killed people. "You made it." "Of course I made it," I said, staring past him at my car. The front end was mashed into the side of a newer SUV, whose driver, a woman in business clothes, stood next to another officer, arms crossed so tight they looked painful. "Miss Mitchell?" The officer who'd called me walked over. "I'm Officer Brandon Daniels. I need to confirm, did you give your brother permission to use your vehicle tonight?" This was the moment in my old pattern where I'd say yes without thinking, then spend months cleaning up. But this time my brain showed me a flash of my bank account balance and the text where Ryan had said, "I swear I'll take care of it if anything happens." I nodded slowly. Yes, for a job interview. The woman from the SUV turned at that, anger flickering across her face. "He blew through a red light," she snapped. "I have a dash cam. I could have been killed. My kid was supposed to be in the car with me." Ryan immediately shook his head. "That's not what happened," he cut in. "The light was yellow and her car came out of nowhere. These brakes on Ava's car are trash," I told her that. That was the first time that night I felt the anger boil hotter than the fear. "Excuse me?" I stared at him. "You never said anything about the brakes." Officer Daniels held up a hand. "We'll get everyone's statements. Ms. Price?" He nodded to the other driver. "Has already mentioned her dash cam. We'll be reviewing that." Ryan shifted, his eyes darting toward me, then back to the cop. That panicky, calculating look was way too familiar. "Look, man, I was just doing my sister a favor, trying to get to this interview," he said, laying it on thick. "She practically begged me to take the car so I'd get my life together. You should talk to her about the condition it's in." The way he said it, like I'd shoved the keys into his hand and pushed him into traffic, made my skin crawl. "Are you serious right now?" I hissed. "You called me an hour ago telling me your big break depended on me." "I'm not trying to fight, Ava," he muttered, but his voice was just loud enough for Daniels to hear. "I'm just saying you knew there were problems." That was the exact moment I realized he wasn't just scared. He was already building a story where he didn't take any blame. Where I did. The officer separated us to take formal statements. When it was my turn, I took a breath and tried to channel every composed, factual tone I used when giving report at the hospital. I told him about the call, the keys, the so-called interview. I didn't mention the rent, the debts, the nights I'd driven across town to pick Ryan up from bars because he was too tipsy to drive. Maybe I should have. Meanwhile, I could hear Ryan with the other officer, his voice floating over in frustrated bursts. "She knew the car pulls to the right," he insisted. "She said it was fine, that if anything happened, her insurance would handle it. I'm just trying to get my life on track and now this happens." The words hit me like a slap. He was carefully painting me as the careless one, the enabler who pushed him into danger. Have you ever watched someone you love twist reality in real time while you stand 3 feet away, unable to do anything but listen? When Ms. Price stepped up, she didn't bother softening it. "Your brother ran a solid red," she told Officer Daniels, then looked me dead in the eye. "I don't care how sorry he acts. People like that don't change when you keep rescuing them." Shame burned up my neck because she had no idea how right she was. Still, reflex kicked in. "He's not a bad person," I started, out of habit more than conviction. Ryan shot me a grateful look, clinging to that tiny defense like a life raft. And for a second, I hated myself more than I hated him. As the tow trucks arrived and the officers wrapped up, Daniels pulled me aside. "We'll finish this at the station later if needed," he said. "Given the dash cam and witnesses, your brother is likely at fault. You should also be aware, as the owner, you may be financially liable for damages." "Even if he was the one driving?" I asked, feeling that old familiar weight land on my shoulders again. "Yes, ma'am, it's complicated. I'd recommend you talk to an attorney." His words sank in like stones. Financially liable. Again. Enabling, but this time with paperwork to prove it. Back near the curb, Ryan was scrolling on his phone like he was bored. The second Daniels walked away, he leaned in. "Hey, don't freak out, okay?" he said. "We'll tell Mom and Dad it was partly the other driver's fault or whatever. Insurance is there for a reason." This was the toned-down version of himself. The real one was hiding just under the surface. The one who would do anything not to feel the consequences. And I had no idea yet just how far he was willing to go to dump those consequences on me. By the time my ride dropped me at my parents' house, it was almost midnight. Their porch light was on, and Ryan's beat-up truck was in the driveway like nothing had happened. I walked in to find all three of them at the kitchen table. My dad with his arms folded, my mom clutching a mug of tea, Ryan leaning back like he was the guest of honor at his own pity party. "There she is," my dad said, voice already tight. "We've been talking." "Great," I replied. "Have you been talking about how your son turned my car into modern art?" Ryan rolled his eyes. "Wow. Dramatic much?" "Ryan says the brakes on your car have been bad for months," my mom cut in. "You didn't think to get them checked, Ava?" "The brakes are fine," I snapped. "He ran a red light. The other driver has a dash cam." My dad frowned at Ryan. "You didn't mention a red light." "Because that's not what happened," Ryan shot back. "I told you. The light was yellow, and the car pulled when I hit the brakes. Ava's been putting off fixing it forever." "You never said a word about the brakes," I said, my voice rising. "But you did say, if anything happens, your insurance will handle it, right? Right before you grabbed the keys." His jaw tightened. "So what? Now you're recording everything I say?" He laughed, humorless. "You've always been like this. You help, then throw it in my face." Something inside me finally snapped. "Because I am always helping Ryan. I paid your rent, your tabs, your stupid tickets. I am drowning in your one more chances. And now you're trying to blame me for you blowing a red light? Are you serious?" My mom winced. "Let's all calm down." "No, let's not," I said, hands shaking. "You two call me every time he screws up, ask me to fix it. You tell me how smart I am, how I understand money better. But when I set a boundary, suddenly I'm cold and selfish." I turned to Ryan. "You think I'm going to just smile and eat this bill again? You're paying for the damages. All of it. I'm done." For a second, the room was dead silent. Then Ryan laughed, low and mean. "You're done? With what, Ava? With your own family?" He stepped closer, voice dropping. "You think you're better than us because you wear scrubs and have a badge on a lanyard. Newsflash. Without me, you'd have nobody to play savior to." "Enough," my dad snapped. "Ava, don't talk about suing your own brother. That's insane. We handle things as a family." "You mean I handle things," I said, meeting his eyes. "You've both been protecting him since we were kids. You bailed him out of fights, out of tickets, out of everything, and then you outsourced the bill to me." Ryan's face twisted. "You want to talk about bills?" he said, suddenly loud. "How about all the times you've thrown money in my face just so you could act like some martyr? You like me being a screw-up. It makes you feel important." "I like having a car," I shot back. "I like not being sued. Wild concept, I know. His eyes flashed in that way I recognized from every bar fight he'd ever been in. He grabbed his phone off the table. "You know what?" he said. "If you're going to threaten me in front of them, I'm done too." And before I could process what he was doing, he had dialed 911 on speaker. "Ryan, hang up," my mom hissed. "Don't you dare," my dad said. But he didn't move. "911, what is your emergency?" "Yeah," Ryan said loudly, staring straight at me. "I'm at my parents' address, and my sister is threatening me, screaming, saying she's going to make me pay for an accident and ruin my life. She's unstable, and I don't feel safe." "Are there weapons present?" the dispatcher asked. "No, but she's really worked up. I just need someone to come before this gets worse." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You're lying," I whispered. "You're literally calling the cops on me because I told you to take responsibility?" He ended the call and slipped the phone in his pocket like he'd just ordered a pizza. "They'll sort it out," he said. "You love rules so much, right? Let the law handle it." My mom's face had gone white. "Ryan," she whispered, "you shouldn't have done that." "He doesn't think anything applies to him until paperwork shows up," I said, my voice shaking but low now, almost calm. "Fine, let the cops come. Let them hear how their victim ran a red light in my car and is now trying to dump everything on me." When the knock came, it felt surreal. 2 officers, one of them Daniel, stood in the doorway. The look on his face when he saw me said it all. He had not expected to see me again so soon, and definitely not in the role of aggressor. They separated us, took fresh statements, asked if anyone felt unsafe. Ryan put on his best wounded puppy act, talking about my temper and pressure from the family. My parents, caught in the middle, did what they always did. They minimized, deflected, tried to smooth it all over. For a terrifying second, I saw how easy it would be for this to flip, for me to end the night in handcuffs because my brother knew exactly which words to use. Instead, Daniels pulled me aside on the porch. "Look," he said quietly, "this sounds more like a family dispute than an immediate threat. Nobody's going to jail tonight. But from what I'm hearing, there's a pattern here. Money, cars, promises. You might want to think about putting some distance between yourself and your brother. At least on paper." "On paper?" I repeated. "What does that even look like?" "Talk to a lawyer," he said. "Protect yourself. If you keep co-signing his mess, you're going to go down with him." His words echoed in my head long after they left. Distance. On paper. That was the first time I realized revenge didn't have to look like shouting matches or slam doors. Sometimes it looked like signatures. 2 days later, after a double shift, I found myself sitting in Jenna's cramped apartment, nursing bad coffee and worse exhaustion. "So he crashed your car, blamed your brakes, and then called the cops on you?" she said, eyebrows somewhere near her hairline. "Siblings of the year." "Yup," I said. And my parents' main takeaway was that I shouldn't use legal words with him because it sounds like a threat. "Have they considered that it is a threat?" Jenna asked dryly. "A healthy one?" I let out a shaky laugh. "Is it messed up that part of me wants him to actually get charged with something just so he has to sit still for 5 seconds and look at his life?" "Honestly," she said, "no. Sometimes consequences are the kindest thing." Her words sat with me later that night as I lay in bed staring at my ceiling. Consequences, distance on paper. I opened my banking app and scrolled through Zelle history. Ryan, Ryan, Ryan. A sea of blue. Rent. Utilities. Emergency. I tried to picture a version of my life where I wasn't his safety net, where my paycheck went to my future, not patching his present. The next afternoon, he texted, "We need to talk. Please." For a long time, I didn't answer. Then curiosity, or stupidity, won. We met at a quiet coffee shop off the freeway. He looked rougher than usual, dark circles under his eyes, fingers tapping nonstop on the table. "You look like you haven't slept," I said. "Yeah, well, kind of hard to sleep when your entire life might be over because of one mistake," he snapped, then caught himself. "Sorry, I'm just stressed." I watched him, really watched him, the way I watch a patient's face when they say, "I'm fine," but their vitals tell a different story. "The dashcam footage?" I asked. "Did the insurance say anything yet?" He rubbed his hands over his face. "They're reviewing it. My license is already on thin ice from those other tickets. And if they file anything criminal..." He trailed off. For the first time, I saw real fear there. "And that's why you called the cops on me?" I said quietly. "Because you wanted to flip the script before it could land on you?" He winced. "I panicked, okay? I thought if they wrote a report saying you were going off on me, it'd look like you were unstable, not me. You weaponized me being angry at you," I said, each word slow. "Do you have any idea how messed up that is?" "I know," he said, eyes shiny. "And I'm sorry." "I am. I know you don't have to believe me, but I am." There was something raw in his voice I hadn't heard in a while. "I need help, Ava," he said. "Real help. I've been dodging bills, dodging people, gambling to catch up, and now everything's catching me instead." He swallowed hard. "I looked up a program for gambling and for other stuff." He didn't say alcohol, but we both heard it. "It's not cheap. But if I don't do something, I'm going to end up in jail or dead." "Is this another speech to get me to write a check?" I asked. "Because I'm out. I can't keep paying for your fresh starts." "No," he said quickly. "I'm not asking you to pay. I'm asking you not to destroy me while I'm trying to fix it." He pulled out a crumpled paper and slid it across the table. It was a printout of his debts, credit cards, payday loans, something that looked suspiciously like a bookie's ledger. "Mom and Dad don't know any of this," he said. "If they find out and you're the one who tells them, they'll never forgive you. They'll say you ruined the family." The old Ava would have taken that as a warning. This Ava heard it as what it was. A threat wrapped in confession. "So what? I'm supposed to stay quiet while you keep burning everything down?" I asked. "I'm telling you because I'm trying not to," he said. "I'm starting the program next week. I'll get whatever job I can with whatever license they leave me. I'll make payments on the car, I swear. Just don't sue me. Don't go nuclear." "Would you believe you?" I asked. "If you were me and you'd heard all this 10 times before?" He flinched. "Probably not," he admitted, "but it has to start somewhere." A tiny, exhausted part of me wanted to believe him so badly my chest hurt. Another part, the one that had been in the room when he dialed 911 on me, Aste, whispered, "Remember what he does when he panics. Remember who he protects first." I took a breath. "Here's the deal," I said. "You get into that program, you stay in it, you get a job, and you make payments to repair the car. If you miss, I'm done asking. The law decides. No more middle ground." He nodded quickly, clinging to it like I'd tossed him a lifeline. But as he walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just made a deal with someone who loved cliffs. Weeks blurred together. At work, I managed meds and charted vitals. At home, I managed anxiety and charted every broken promise in the back of my mind. The insurance adjuster called, then called again. The repair estimate for my car alone looked like a joke. One with my name as the punchline. Monica Price's insurer was coming after me too as the vehicle owner. "We understand your brother was driving," the adjuster said politely, "but ultimately, your policy..." I hung up before I could cry on a stranger. That night, I finally did what Officer Daniels had told me. I called a lawyer. Attorney Melissa Grant's office was neat and quiet, all clean lines and controlled lighting. She listened without interrupting as I laid everything out. The crash, the dash cam, the phone call to 911, the debts, even the coffee shop confession. "So you're considering a civil suit against your brother for the damages?" she asked when I finished. Just hearing it out loud felt surreal. "I'm considering not letting him take me down with him," I said. "Is that the same thing?" One corner of her mouth twitched. "Sometimes. You have options. You can pursue a small claims case for the repair costs and increased insurance premiums. You can also choose to cooperate fully with any criminal investigation if the dash cam proves he ran the red and was impaired." "That feels like betrayal," I admitted. "He's still my brother." "What would you call it when he called the police on you and implied you were unstable?" she asked mildly. I didn't have an answer. On her legal pad, she drew 3 columns and labeled them: protect yourself, protect him, protect status quo. "Let's make this simple," she said. "In each column, list what happens if you choose that path." It felt like a therapy exercise, but I did it. Under protect yourself, I wrote, sue for damages, give full cooperation to police, separate finances, no more loans. Under protect him, I wrote, pay everything quietly. Don't mention his debts. Let parents believe his version. Under protect status quo, I wrote, fight, forgive, pay, repeat, until I break. Looking at the 3rd column made something in my chest go cold. "What are you most afraid of?" she asked. "That he'll hate me?" I said. "That my parents will." "Do they love you only when you're paying?" she asked. "Or do they love you even when you say no?" That was the question I'd been dodging for years. On the drive home, my brain ran its own what-if scenarios like a glitchy slideshow. What if I did nothing? I saw myself 3 years from now, still in scrubs, no savings, answering another midnight call about another wrecked car. What if I quietly paid again? I saw Ryan learning. Not that he was loved, but that there were no limits. That the Bank of Ava never closed. What if I fought? I saw courtrooms, angry phone calls, my parents' faces full of hurt. But I also saw something else I hadn't let myself imagine. My own life, not chained to his chaos. A few days later, Officer Daniels called. "Ms. Mitchell, just letting you know, the dashcam footage confirms your brother ran the red. There's also evidence he may have been using his phone at the time. We're forwarding everything to the DA for review." "Will there be charges?" I asked. "Possibly," he said. "These things take time. I also wanted to note for the record that your brother's earlier call about you doesn't align with what we observed at the scene, just in case it comes up later." I hung up and stared at my wall for a long time. Then I opened my laptop. I started collecting screenshots of texts where Ryan promised to pay me back next week, bank transfers labeled "last time, I swear," photos of damage, the repair estimate, a copy of the dash cam summary Daniels had emailed me, the piece of paper Ryan had given me with his debts, which I'd quietly photographed. I dropped them all into a folder and titled it Mitchell v. Mitchell. It looked ridiculous. It also looked like a line in the sand. The next time I met with Attorney Grant, I slid a flash drive across her desk. "Everything you asked for," I said. "And some things you didn't, but probably need." She plugged it into her computer and started skimming. "You've been thorough," she said. "Nurses usually are." "If I do this," I said, "if I file, it's going to blow my family up." "Or," she said, meeting my eyes, "it forces your family to decide whether they love you as a person or as a resource. Either way, you get clarity." "What if I regret it?" I asked. "What if he actually changes this time?" "Then he'll change with consequences," she said, "not instead of them." In that moment, revenge stopped looking like getting even and started looking like pushing reality into the light and refusing to drag it back into the dark. We filed the small claims case the following week. The day of the hearing, the Phoenix sun was merciless, but the courtroom was freezing. I sat at the plaintiff's table next to Attorney Grant, hands folded so tight my knuckles ached. Across from us, Ryan slouched in a borrowed blazer, our parents flanking him like loyal attorneys without degrees. My mom wouldn't even look at me. My dad's jaw was clenched so hard I could see the muscle ticking from across the room. Judge Reynolds called the case. Mitchell versus Mitchell, he said, deadpan. Family dispute over vehicle damage and associated costs. Let's try to keep this civil, folks. Grant laid out the facts cleanly. The dash cam, the repair estimates, the increased insurance premiums, the texts where Ryan had acknowledged responsibility and promised to pay. Ryan's side of the story, delivered through gritted teeth and occasional sighs from my parents, was that it was an accident, and that family shouldn't drag each other into court over money. Ms. Mitchell, the judge said, turning to me, is there anything you want to say in your own words? I swallowed. I love my brother, I said, hearing my voice echo in the quiet room. But I've been rescuing him financially since I was 21. I've drained savings, maxed cards, sold things that mattered to me, all so he could have one more chance. When he crashed my car, he didn't just make a mistake. He tried to make it my fault. He called the police on me to protect himself. If I don't draw a line now, there will never be a line. My mom finally looked at me then, eyes wide and wet. We didn't know he called 911 on you, she whispered. Ryan? He shifted, glaring at me. She's exaggerating, he muttered. We were both heated. I just wanted someone to calm things down. Did you or did you not tell the dispatcher your sister was unstable and you felt unsafe? Grant asked, sliding a printed transcript across to him. We obtained this through a records request. He glanced at it, then at our parents, then at the judge. For once, he had no smooth comeback. Judge Reynolds read it, eyebrows lifting. Interesting, he said. Seems to me this goes beyond a simple accident. That was my moment, the moment for the gift I'd been promised in my own head. Grant nodded toward my bag. I took out a small, neatly labeled envelope and a USB drive. Your Honor, I said, I brought copies of something for the court and for the police, if they choose to pursue anything further. What is it? He asked. Documentation, I said. Of a pattern. My financial records showing years of transfers. Screenshots of promises to pay. The written acknowledgement from my brother listing his debts and asking me to keep them from my parents. And an email from his bar manager terminating him after this accident because he showed up to his shift intoxicated 2 nights later. My parents both jerked their heads toward Ryan. You lost your job? My dad hissed. You told us they cut your hours. I didn't think it was relevant, Ryan muttered. You didn't think we needed the truth, I said. I walked up and handed the envelope to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. Then I set the USB on the edge of the table and looked at Officer Daniels sitting quietly in the back as a witness. There's a digital copy for the police, I said, in case they want a full picture if they pursue anything from the dash cam. That was the gift, not a dramatic gesture, not some Hollywood twist, but the truth. Organized, undeniable, and placed in the hands of people who could finally do something I'd never been able to do alone, hold him accountable. Judge Reynolds skimmed a few pages, his expression tightening. Mr. Mitchell, he said slowly, do you dispute that you received thousands of dollars from your sister over the past several years? Ryan slumped. No, he said. Do you dispute that you were at fault in the collision, given the dashcam footage? No, he said again, barely audible. Then this part is simple, the judge said. Judgment in favor of the plaintiff for the full amount of the repair estimate and documented insurance increases. Payment plan to be arranged, but this is now a legal debt. As for any criminal matters, That's beyond the scope of this court, but I strongly suggest you speak to an attorney of your own. The gavel hit, and just like that, the case, on paper, at least, was done. Outside the courtroom, the real aftershock hit. "I can't believe you did this," my mom said, tears spilling over. "To your own brother." "He did it to himself," I said quietly. "I just stopped erasing it for him." My dad shook his head. "You could have come to us. We would have figured something out as a family." "You had years," I said. "I begged you to stop bailing him out. You always said, he just needs one more chance." I'm not taking that sentence into my 30s with me. They didn't have an answer for that. Ryan stepped closer, face flushed with humiliation and something sharper. "You know they're never going to look at you the same again," he said. "You've turned everyone against me." "No," I replied. "I turned everyone toward the truth. What they do with it is on them. What you do with it is on you." For a moment I thought he might blow up, throw everything back in my face like always. Instead, his shoulders sagged. "They're going to be on your side now," he said bitterly. "They'll forget I exist." "Or," I said, "they'll finally stop treating you like a kid and start expecting you to act like a man. That's between you and them. I'm out of the middle." Weeks passed. The payment plan kicked in. Sporadic at first, then more steady as Ryan picked up shifts at a construction company, willing to take a chance on him while his license mess got sorted. The DA ended up filing a misdemeanor charge for the red light violation combined with reckless driving. He pled out, took the classes, lost his license for a while. It wasn't jail. It also wasn't nothing. My parents were frosty with me for a while, stung by the realization that their baby had been hiding so much. But then, something unexpected happened. My mom called one night, hesitant. "I started saying no," she said. "To him, to your father, to extra shifts at school. It feels awful and good." I smiled into the dark. "Boundaries feel like that at first," I said. "Awful and good." "Do you hate us?" she asked. "For everything?" I thought about all the nights I'd picked up the phone, all the money I'd wired, all the times I'd been called dramatic or cold when I hesitated. "No," I said finally. "I don't hate you. I just can't be the hero and the victim in the same story anymore." As for Ryan, we didn't talk for months. Then, one afternoon, a text pinged onto my phone. "First payment cleared, on time." I know it doesn't fix everything, but it's a start. I stared at it for a long time before replying. "Good. Actions look better on you than speeches." Did we have a perfect, healed, movie-ending relationship after that? No. But I had my own bank account, my own car, eventually, and my own life back. And he had something he'd never really had before. A reason to change that didn't involve me cushioning his fall. If you're watching this and you're the Ava in your family, the fixer, the responsible one, maybe my gift isn't just for the cops or my parents or my brother. Maybe it's for you too. Permission to draw a line, to choose your own peace over someone else's chaos. Have you ever had to pick between family and your own freedom? If you had to choose today, which one would you actually pick?